Jake Morrison felt his hands shake as he stood on the bridge of the ESS Liberty. The biggest human ship ever built was floating in empty space, waiting for something that would change everything. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. Everyone knew this moment would decide if humans lived or died. The large screen in front of them flickered and came to life. 12 strange shapes appeared on the screen. These were the Galaxy Council, the aliens who ruled all the stars that humans had ever seen. They looked scary and powerful. Some had too many arms. Others glowed with strange light. One looked like it was made of living crystal. The crystal being spoke first. Its voice was deep and cold. Small creatures from the third planet of Sol. You have made a big mistake. We are the Galaxy Council. We have ruled this galaxy for millions of your years. You will listen and obey. Jake tried to keep his face calm, but inside he felt afraid. Next to him, Admiral Lisa Carter stood with her, back straight. She was the highest-ranking human officer in space. Her gray hair was pulled back tight and her blue eyes were hard as steel. She had fought in 3 wars on Earth, but nothing like this. You humans have built homes on a world that belongs to us, the crystal alien continued. The world you call New Haven is sacred to us. It is where consciousness first began in this galaxy. Your people cannot stay there. Behind Jake, Lieutenant Commander Danny Torres watched the communication systems. He made sure every word was being sent back to Earth. His young face was serious. This was the most important message humans had ever received. We give you 48 of your hours, said the crystal being. Remove all your people from our sacred world. Take all your ships back to your home system. If you do not obey, we will destroy every human in the galaxy. This is not a request. This is an order. Commander Amy Rodriguez, who controlled the ship's weapons, whispered under her breath. 6 months we tried to talk to them, 6 months of peace meetings, and this is what we get. On another screen, President Helen Martinez appeared from Earth. She was a small woman with kind eyes, but Jake knew she was tough as iron. She had led Earth through the worst economic crisis in history. Now she faced something much worse. Honored members of the Galaxy Council, President Martinez said, her voice steady. We respect your ancient claim to this world, but 50,000 humans now live on New Haven. They have built homes. They have had children. We want to find a way for our people to share this world with you. We can work together. The crystal alien seemed to grow brighter. If Jake didn't know better, he would think it was laughing. Work together. Your species learned to use fire yesterday in Galactic time. We were old when your son was young. There is no sharing. There is only obedience or death. Other aliens on the council made sounds that might have been agreement. One that looked like a giant spider clicked its legs. Another that floated in a bubble of green gas made a noise like breaking glass. Your species spreads like a disease, said another council member. This one had scales and too many teeth. You take worlds that do not belong to you. You ask questions about things you should not know. You will be stopped. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. Humans had done nothing wrong. They had found an empty world and made it beautiful. They had grown food and built cities. They had been careful not to hurt any native life. How could that be wrong? We understand your concern, President Martinez said. But destroying entire worlds of innocent people cannot be the answer. There must be another way. There is no other way, the crystal being said. Its voice was final. You have 48 hours. After that, your species will be removed from existence. We have done this before. We will do it again if needed. The RAW transmission ended. The screen went dark. The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Jake looked around at his crew. These were good people. They had families back on Earth. They had dreams and hopes. Now some aliens they had never met wanted to kill them all because humans had built farms on an empty world. Orders, Admiral? Jake asked. Lisa Carter stared at the dark screen for a long moment. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the Council has rejected all negotiations. Then get me a secure line to President Martinez. Yes, ma'am, Danny Torres said, his fingers flying over his controls. Amy Rodriguez turned in her chair. Admiral, our sensors show council ships moving toward human space. Big ones. More firepower than we've ever seen. How many ships? Carter asked. At least 200, ma'am. Maybe more. They're coming from all directions. Jake felt his stomach drop. Earth's entire space fleet had maybe 50 ships. They were fast and smart, but not built for a war like this. There's something else, Amy continued. They're not just military ships. I'm seeing colony ships, construction ships, mining ships. It's like they're planning to move in after they remove us. President Martinez's face appeared on the secure screen. She looked tired but determined. Admiral Carter, I assume you heard everything. Yes, ma'am. What are your orders? The president was quiet for a moment. Begin evacuation of New Haven. We'll comply with their demands. Jake felt his heart sink. They were just going to give up. But ma'am, Carter said, if we back down now, they'll just make more demands. Today it's New Haven. Tomorrow it might be Earth itself. I know, Martinez said, but I won't let 50,000 people die for pride. Begin the evacuation. That's an order. The screen went dark again. Jake looked at his crew. They all looked defeated. But Admiral Carter had a strange look in her eyes. Danny, send the evacuation order to New Haven. Amy, begin calculating jump routes back to Earth. Yes, ma'am, they both said. Carter walked to the center of the bridge. But first, get me a secure channel to Dr. Kevin Blake at Cheyenne Mountain. Ultra-black clearance only. Jake had never heard that name before. Amy and Danny looked confused too. Ma'am? Jake asked. Carter smiled for the first time since the council's message. It was not a nice smile. The Galaxy Council thinks they know everything about humans. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Deep under a mountain in Colorado, Dr. Kevin Blake walked into the most secret room on Earth. The walls were thick metal and concrete. No signals could get in or out without permission. Only 12 people in the world knew this place existed. Around a long table sat the most powerful people in human space. President Martinez was there by video link. General Patricia Hayes, who commanded all of Earth's armies, sat across from the head of Earth's spy agency, Paul Anderson. These people made decisions that affected billions of lives. Kevin looked tired. He had not slept in 2 days. His gray hair was messy and his clothes were wrinkled. But his eyes were bright with excitement. Thank you all for coming, Kevin said. What I'm about to show you will change everything you think you know about this war. He pressed a button and the lights dimmed. A huge hologram appeared over the table. It showed the galaxy, but not like any map they had seen before. This one was covered in lines of light that connected star to star. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin continued, for 15 years we have been preparing for this day. We knew the Galaxy Council would eventually see us as a threat. We have been getting ready. General Hayes leaned forward. She was a tough woman who had fought in wars on 3 different worlds. Explain, Doctor. What exactly have you been preparing? Kevin smiled. The Galaxy Council is not as strong as they want us to believe. Our spy ships have been watching them for years. We know their secrets. More important, we know their biggest fear. The hologram changed to show brain scans and energy readings. Strange waves pulsed across the display in colors that hurt to look at. Dr. Nancy Collins, Kevin's assistant, stood up. She was young, but very smart. Human brains are different from alien brains. We create something we call psi resonance. It's like a radio signal that comes from thinking, but our signal is special. Special how? Asked President Martinez from the screen. Kevin touched another button. The hologram showed ancient machines buried on worlds across the galaxy. The Galaxy Council rules using old technology, machines built by a race that died out millions of years ago. The Council thinks they control these machines. They are wrong. Paul Anderson, the spy chief, opened a thick folder. Our agents have been very busy. 3 species in the Galaxy Council want the Council to end. The Zephyrians hate the crystal beings who lead the Council. The Keth want freedom to explore space. The Void Runners are tired of being treated like slaves. They've been sending us secret messages, Anderson continued. They want to rebel, but they need help. They're waiting for the right moment. General Hayes studied the data on her tablet. What kind of help? Kevin's smile grew wider. We're going to give the Galaxy Council exactly what they asked for. We're going to remove humans from their space, but not in the way they think. President Martinez looked confused. I don't understand. Nancy stepped forward. The ancient machines respond to consciousness. But not just any consciousness. They were built to respond to minds like ours. Human minds. The Galaxy Council has been using these machines for thousands of years, but they've never been able to fully control them. Because they're not human, Kevin added. The machines have been waiting for the right kind of minds to come along. Our minds. The hologram showed Earth and all the human colonies. Bright dots marked every world where humans lived. We have 50 million people spread across 23 worlds. Each person has a brain that can connect to the ancient network. If we link them all together, we become the most powerful force in the galaxy. General Hayes finished. President Martinez was quiet for a long moment. What exactly are you proposing, Dr. Blake? Kevin pressed another button. The hologram showed the Galaxy Council's main station. It was huge, bigger than Earth's moon. Around it floated hundreds of warships. The Council thinks in straight lines, Kevin explained. They see a problem, they destroy it. They don't expect clever solutions. Tomorrow they will gather to watch us surrender. All their leaders will be in one place, all their best ships will be there too. And? The president asked. And we're going to make them disappear. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at Kevin. Disappear? How? General Hayes asked. Nancy pulled up new displays. The ancient network doesn't just control machines, it controls space and time. We can create pocket dimensions, small universes that exist outside normal space. You want to trap them in another dimension? Paul Anderson asked. Not trap, Kevin corrected. Relocate. The Council will find themselves in a place where they can't hurt anyone. They'll be alive and safe, but they won't be able to threaten Earth or anyone else. President Martinez rubbed her forehead. This sounds like science fiction, Dr. Blake. So did flying to other stars 50 years ago, Kevin replied. Ma'am, we have the power to end this war without firing a shot. No humans have to die, no aliens have to die, the Council just goes away. General Hayes looked at the battle plans on her tablet. Our normal fleet doesn't stand a chance against them. If this doesn't work, we lose everything. If we don't try, we lose everything anyway, Nancy said quietly. Paul Anderson closed his folder. The rebellion species are ready. They have ships in position. If we remove the Council, they can take control of key systems before chaos breaks out. How long do we have to decide? President Martinez asked. Kevin checked his watch. The Council expects our surrender in 36 hours. We need to start the process in 24 hours if we want it to work. The president looked at each person around the table. These were the people she trusted most in the world. Each had devoted their lives to protecting humanity. The risks? She asked. If it fails, the Galaxy Council destroys us faster, General Hayes said. If it works, we become responsible for the entire galaxy, Paul Anderson added. And if we do, nothing. 50,000 people on New Haven die, and probably everyone on Earth after that, Nancy said. President Martinez was quiet for 2 full minutes. Everyone waited. The fate of humanity hung on her next words. Dr. Blake, she finally said, begin Project Prometheus, but I want safeguards. If this goes wrong, I want a way to stop it. Kevin nodded. Already built in, ma'am. We can shut down the whole system if needed. Then God help us all, the president said. Let's make the Galaxy Council disappear. As the meeting ended and people began to leave, Kevin stayed behind with Nancy. They looked at the holographic display showing all of human space. Are you sure this will work? Nancy asked quietly. Kevin was quiet for a moment. The math says yes. The alien rebels say yes. The ancient machines say yes. But we're about to find out if humans are really as special as we think we are. Tomorrow we'll know if we can save ourselves or if we've just made everything worse. Outside the mountain, normal people lived normal lives. They had no idea that their future was being decided in a secret room deep underground. Soon, every human alive would be part of the most important moment in galactic history. Kiwi, countdown to Project Prometheus had begun. High Arbiter Zexthul floated in the center of the Galaxy Council chamber. The massive station orbited near the bright center of the galaxy. Stars swirled around them like jewels on black cloth. Today would be a good day. Today the humans would learn their place. The crystal being pulsed with satisfaction as reports came in from across the galaxy. All council fleets were moving toward human space. Over 300 warships, each one capable of destroying planets. The humans had maybe 50 small ships. This would not be a battle. This would be an extermination. Status report, Zexthul commanded. War Prime Gorth stepped forward. He was huge, even for his species. Thick armor covered his body, and 4 arms ended in claws that could cut through steel. All battle groups are in position. The human worlds are surrounded. We await your command to begin the cleansing. And the humans? Have they responded to our generous offer? Gorth made a sound like grinding metal that passed for laughter among his people. They have gone silent. Our sensors show their ships powering down across all sectors. Many are already retreating toward their home system. As expected, Zexthul said, its crystalline form grew brighter with pleasure. Primitive species always submit when faced with true power. They understand they cannot fight beings who ruled the galaxy when their sun was nothing but dust and gas. The other council members made sounds of agreement. The spider-like Kretak clicked its 8 legs on the metal floor. The gas-breathing Velmoth bubbled in its atmospheric suit. All of them had waited for this moment. The humans had been asking too many questions, exploring too many worlds, growing too fast. It was time to end their expansion forever. But far away, hidden in a dark nebula, Captain Jake Morrison watched everything through long-range sensors. The ESS Liberty floated silent and dark, its engines barely running. Around it, 11 other human ships waited like hunters in the shadows. Phase 1 complete, Jake reported to Admiral Carter through quantum communication. All Council military assets are moving toward the chamber, just like we predicted. Admiral Carter's voice came back clear and calm. Confirmed, Captain. Begin Phase 2. Jake turned to his crew. They all looked nervous but determined. Today, they would either save humanity or watch it die. Danny, send the all-clear signal to Dr. Blake. Amy, make sure our jump drives are ready. We may need to run very fast very soon. Yes, sir, they both replied. On Earth, deep under Cheyenne Mountain, Dr. Kevin Blake watched screens that showed the entire galaxy. 50 million humans on 23 worlds were all connected through quantum links. Each person wore a small device that let their minds work together as one giant brain. Psi resonance at maximum levels, reported Dr. Nancy Collins. Her hands moved quickly over her controls. All colonies are synchronized. Everyone is ready. Kevin felt sweat on his forehead. 15 years of preparation had led to this moment. Either humans would take control of the ancient network, or they would all die trying. Dr. Blake, came President Martinez's voice over the secure channel. The evacuation ships from New Haven are reporting council forces surrounding them. If this doesn't work, it will work, ma'am, Kevin said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. The math is perfect. The resonance is stable. The ancient machines are responding. Across human space, normal people sat quietly in their homes. They didn't fully understand what was happening, but they knew it was important. Children held their parents' hands. Old people remembered wars from long ago. Everyone thought the same thoughts, felt the same hope, focused on the same goal. Lieutenant Susan Clark had made the discovery that made all this possible. She was young for such an important job, but she was the best at reading ancient alien writing. 6 months ago, she had found the truth about the control nodes. The original builders weren't like the council species, she had explained to Kevin. They thought like us. They felt like us. They built the network to respond to minds that could imagine, dream, and hope. The council species are too rigid, too focused on control. The machines have been waiting millions of years for the right kind of consciousness to come along. Now that consciousness was about to wake up, initiating Prometheus. Protocol, Dr. Blake announced. Across the galaxy, ancient machines that had slept for eons suddenly came to life. On dead worlds in empty space buried deep in planets, the control nodes began to glow. They felt something they had not felt since their creators died. They felt minds that understood them. In the council chamber, High Arbiter Zexthul was enjoying the moment of victory when everything went wrong. "What is that sound?" demanded the Kretak as a deep humming filled the station. Gorth checked his instruments. Unknown energy readings throughout the chamber. Power levels are increasing rapidly. Zexthul's crystalline form flickered with confusion. Impossible. All ancient systems are under our control. But the humming grew louder. The walls began to glow with strange light. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist around them. "High Arbiter," called out Velmoth through its breathing apparatus. "Our ships are reporting the same phenomenon. Every control node in the galaxy is activating simultaneously." "That cannot be," Zexthul said, but doubt crept into its voice. "We are the masters of the ancient network. We have controlled it for thousands of years." The station shook as waves of energy passed through it. On screens around the chamber, they could see their mighty fleet caught in the same strange field. Ships that had destroyed worlds now floated helplessly as unknown forces took control of their systems. "It's the humans," whispered one of the smaller council members. "They've done something to the network." "Impossible," Zexthul repeated, but its light was dimming with fear. "They are primitives. They barely understand their own technology." Jake Morrison, watching from the nebula, saw the energy readings spike across his instruments. "It's working," he breathed. "The network is responding." On Earth, Kevin Blake watched as every control node in the galaxy came under human control. The ancient machines recognized their true masters and obeyed. The network that the Galaxy Council had used to maintain power for millennia now served humanity. "Displacement field is stable," Nancy reported. "Creating pocket dimension." Now. In the council chamber, High Arbiter Zexthul felt reality slip away. The last thing it saw was its reflection in the chamber's windows, growing fainter and fainter, until it was nothing but a ghost of light. "What have you done?" it called out, but its voice was already fading. The Galaxy Council, their massive station, and their entire fleet of 300 warships simply vanished from normal space. Not destroyed, not scattered, but moved, displaced into a pocket dimension, where they would exist outside normal time and space, unable to threaten anyone ever again. Jake stared at his sensors in amazement. Where moments before had been the largest military force in galactic history, now there was only empty space and distant stars. "My God," whispered Amy Rodriguez. "They're actually gone." "All ships, this is Admiral Carter," came the voice over the communication system. "Phase 3 begins now. Contact the rebel fleets. Tell them the galaxy is free." Jake smiled as he gave the order to drop out of hiding. Humanity had just won the most important battle in galactic history without firing a single shot. The Galaxy Council had vanished in minutes, just as planned. But Jake knew this was only the beginning. Now came the hard part. Now humanity had to figure out what to do with an entire galaxy that suddenly had no rulers at all. The first message came 3 hours after the Galaxy Council disappeared. Lieutenant Commander Danny Torres looked up from his communication station with wide eyes. "Captain Morrison, we're getting a signal from the Zephyrian Rebellion fleet. They're requesting immediate assistance." Jake felt his heart racing. This was the moment they had planned for, but it still felt unreal. "Put them through, Danny." The main screen flickered and showed a reptilian face with golden scales and bright green eyes. Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian fleet looked tired but hopeful. "Human allies," she said, her voice carrying relief that crossed species barriers. "The impossible has happened. The Council is truly gone. 300 worlds are calling for our help. They want to be free, but they don't know how." Admiral Carter's voice came through from Earth Command. Captain Morrison, you are now our primary diplomatic contact. Work with Commander Veltar to coordinate liberation efforts. Jake nodded, though he felt overwhelmed. Yesterday he was a ship captain. Today he was helping to rebuild an entire galaxy. Commander Veltar, he said, what do you need from us? Everything, she replied honestly. Food, medicine, ships, people who know how to organize governments. The Council kept everyone dependent on them. Most worlds don't even know how to run their own power systems. On Earth, Dr. Nancy Collins worked frantically in the control room under Cheyenne Mountain. Screens around her showed the ancient network that humans now controlled. The responsibility was enormous. Kevin, she called to Dr. Blake, we have a problem. The network isn't just defensive systems. It controls transportation, communication, energy distribution for the entire galaxy. If we make a mistake, billions of people could lose power or air or heat. Kevin rubbed his tired eyes. How many people do we need to keep this running? At least 5,000 humans working in shifts around the clock, and they all need to be connected through the quantum links. It's like being the nervous system for the whole galaxy. Back in space, Jake was learning just how big the problem was. His ship's communication system was flooded with messages from across the galaxy. Every species that had been under Council rule was asking for help. Commander, Amy Rodriguez showed him the tactical display. Sir, we're getting reports of fighting on 17 different worlds. Some species are trying to take control of others. Some are just fighting among themselves. It's chaos out there. What about the rebel fleets? Jake asked. The Zephyrians, Keth and Void Runners are doing their best, but they're spread too thin. There are over 400 inhabited systems in Council space. We need more ships and more people. Jake opened a secure channel to Admiral Carter. Admiral, we need reinforcements. The entire galaxy is looking to us for leadership, and we don't have enough people. Carter's face appeared on the screen. She looked older than she had just days ago. I know, Captain, we're pulling together every available ship and crew member. But we're asking people to leave their families and risk their lives to help aliens they've never met. And are they willing? More than willing. We've got volunteers lining up at every recruitment center. Turns out saving the galaxy is pretty good motivation. On New Haven, the world that had started this whole crisis, colonist leader Ben Parker was organizing relief efforts. The Council had surrounded their world with warships, but now those ships were gone. The colonists were free, but they knew their real work was just beginning. How many refugee ships are coming? He asked his aide, Maria Santos. 47 so far, with more on the way. Mostly Keth and Zephyrian families who were forced to work in Council factories. They have nowhere else to go. Ben nodded. Then we make room. These people fought for freedom too. We'll help them build new lives. President Martinez addressed the world from the White House. My fellow humans, she said, we face a choice that no species in galactic history has ever faced. We can return to our quiet lives on our own worlds, or we can help build something better for everyone. I won't lie to you. This will be hard. It will take years, maybe decades. We'll make mistakes. Some of our people will die helping others. But we have the chance to create a galaxy where every species is free to grow and learn and explore. We didn't ask for this responsibility, but it's ours now. I believe humanity is ready for this challenge. Back on the ESS Liberty, Jake was meeting with leaders from a dozen different species. They had gathered in the ship's conference room, though some needed special atmosphere suits or gravity adjustments. The Democratic Galactic Alliance, explained Dr. Pete Wilson, Earth's new ambassador to alien species. Every world gets a vote. Every species gets representation. No one rules over anyone else. A tall, thin alien with purple skin raised what might have been a hand. But who makes the final decisions when species disagree? A council chosen by vote from all member worlds, Wilson replied, and every few years, new elections. What if some species choose not to join? Asked a small, furry creature that looked like a cross between a cat and a bird. Jake leaned forward. Then they don't join. Freedom includes the freedom to be alone if that's what you want. But you can't attack or threaten other worlds. The discussions went on for hours. Some species had never heard of democracy. Others had tried it and failed. A few were afraid that without strong rulers, chaos would take over. But slowly agreements began to form. The Zephyrians would help with security. The Keth, who were natural explorers, would map safe travel routes. The Void Runners would help with communication systems. On Earth, General Patricia Hayes was coordinating the biggest logistical operation in human history. Ships full of food, medicine, and supplies were launching toward dozens of worlds. Engineers and doctors volunteered for assignments that might last years. "How are we paying for all this?" asked Treasury Secretary Linda Chang during a cabinet meeting. "We're not, in the traditional sense," replied Dr. Blake, who had joined the meeting by video link. "The ancient network gives us access to energy and resources we never dreamed of. We can literally create what we need from raw materials. But there's a cost," he continued. "Every human connected to the network feels the strain. We're sharing our consciousness with machines that span the galaxy. Some people are having trouble sleeping, eating, focusing on normal life." President Martinez frowned. "Are we asking too much of our people?" "I don't know yet," Blake admitted. "We're in uncharted territory. No species has ever tried to do what we're doing." 3 weeks after the Council's disappearance, Jake stood on the observation deck of New Haven Station. It was humanity's first purpose-built diplomatic facility, constructed in just days using the ancient network's capabilities. Through the large windows, he could see ships from 30 different species. Some were bringing refugees to safety. Others carried supplies to worlds in need. A few were just exploring, free for the first time in centuries to travel where they wanted. Commander Veltar joined him at the window. "Your people are remarkable, Captain Morrison. In 3 weeks, you've done more good than the Council did in 3,000 years. "We had help," Jake replied. "A lot of help." "Yes, but you chose to help instead of rule. The Council would have used this power to control everyone. You're using it to free everyone." Jake nodded, but he felt the weight of responsibility. Every day brought new crises, new problems, new species asking for help. Earth's population was working overtime to support the network. Other human colonies were struggling to adapt to their new role as galactic coordinators. "Veltar," he said, "are we doing the right thing?" The Zephyrian commander looked at him with those bright green eyes. "Captain, my people were slaves for 800 years. My children will grow up free. Yes, you are doing the right thing." As Jake watched the ships moving peacefully through space, he felt hope for the future. It wouldn't be easy. There would be setbacks and failures. Some species might choose war over peace. Some humans might decide the burden was too much. But for the first time in galactic history, every species had a choice. And that, Jake thought, was worth any sacrifice. 6 months had passed since the Galaxy Council disappeared. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in his new office on New Haven Station, looking out at the busiest spaceport in the galaxy. Ships from 40 different species came and went every day. Trade flowed freely between worlds that had never been allowed to meet under Council rule. But Jake's face showed worry, not celebration. The reports on his desk told a story that troubled him deeply. Dr. Nancy Collins entered his office carrying a thick folder. She looked tired. All the humans connected to the ancient network looked tired these days. The latest medical reports. "Admiral," she said, setting the folder down. "We're losing people." Jake opened the folder and read the numbers. On Earth, 12 people had died this week from exhaustion related to maintaining the network. On Mars, 3 more had collapsed and couldn't be awakened. On the outer colonies, families were begging their loved ones to disconnect from the system. "How many total?" Jake asked, though he dreaded the answer. 837 dead. 3,000 more showing serious symptoms. The doctors say we're asking human brains to do something they weren't designed for. Jake closed the folder. Each number represented someone's parent, child, friend. Good people who had volunteered to keep the galaxy running were dying because of the burden. Lieutenant Susan Clark, now promoted to Director of Ancient Studies, joined them. She carried her own set of troubling reports. "There's more, Admiral. I found something in the archives. The original builders of the network faced the same problem we're facing. She activated a holographic display showing ancient alien writings. They called themselves the Architects. They built the network to bring peace to their galaxy. But maintaining it required total dedication. Eventually, their entire civilization existed only to keep the machines running. What happened to them? Jake asked. They transcended physical existence, became pure consciousness merged with the network. Their bodies died, but their minds became part of the system forever. Nancy sank into a chair. Are you saying that's what's happening to us? I'm saying it's a possibility. The network is incredibly powerful, but it demands everything from those who run it. Jake's communication system chimed. President Martinez appeared on the screen calling from Earth. Admiral Morrison, we need to talk. I'm getting reports from across human space. Colony leaders are demanding we reduce our connection to the network. Some are threatening to disconnect entirely. Ma'am, if we reduce the network connections, we can't maintain galactic stability. Food shipments will stop. Communication will fail. Some worlds might lose life support. I know that, Admiral, but I also know that I'm asking human beings to sacrifice their lives and sanity for the greater good. How long can we continue this? Before Jake could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Commander Amy Rodriguez's voice came over the communication system. Admiral, to the command center immediately. We've got a big problem. Jake, Nancy, and Susan ran to the command center. The main display showed readings that made Jake's blood run cold. Report, he ordered. Amy pointed to the screen. Long-range sensors are detecting quantum fluctuations in the pocket dimension where we sent the Galaxy Council. They're trying to communicate. That's impossible, Nancy said. The dimensional barrier should be absolute. Apparently not, Amy replied. We're getting structured signals. They've figured out how to send messages across dimensional boundaries. The signals were weak, but clear. After 6 months of isolation, High Arbiter Zexthal was trying to contact the outside universe. Dr. Kevin Blake's voice came through from Earth. Admiral, we're receiving the same signals here. The Council is learning how to manipulate dimensional energy. If they keep advancing, they might find a way back. Jake felt the weight of impossible choices. Keep the network running and watch. Humans die from exhaustion. Reduce the network and watch galactic civilization collapse. Either way, the Galaxy Council might return to a weakened galaxy. There's a fourth option, Susan said quietly. Everyone looked at her. We give the Council a choice. Explain, Jake said. Susan pulled up the dimensional readings. We can expand their pocket dimension, make it a full universe where they can rule as they wish. Or we can bring them back to a galaxy where they have to accept the new democratic order. You want to negotiate with them? Amy asked in disbelief. I want to give them what they really want, Susan replied. Power, but power that can't hurt anyone else. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Around him, his crew waited for orders that would affect the entire galaxy. Open a channel to the pocket dimension, he finally said. The communication system crackled, with static. Then slowly the familiar crystalline form of High Arbiter Zexthal appeared on the screen. So, it said, its voice weaker than before but still proud. The humans finally answer. High Arbiter, Jake said formally. I'm Admiral Morrison of the Democratic Galactic Alliance. We have a proposal for you. Your proposal? Zexthal's form flickered. You displaced us from our rightful place. You stole our authority. What could you possibly offer us? A choice, Jake replied. Return to the galaxy and accept that every species, including yours, has equal rights. No more ruling over others. No more threats of extinction. Work with us to build something better. Or, Zexthal asked, or we expand your current dimension into a complete universe. You can rule it however you wish. Create whatever society you want. But it will be separate from our galaxy forever. The council leader was silent for a long time. When it spoke again, its voice carried something Jake had never heard before. Uncertainty. In our isolation, we have had time to think. Time to remember what we were before we became rulers. We were explorers once, scientists, artists. We created beautiful things before we became obsessed with controlling others. You can be those things again, Jake said, in either choice. If we return to your galaxy, what guarantee do we have that you won't simply exile us again when we become inconvenient? Jake looked at Nancy and Susan. They nodded. The same guarantee any species has: the rule of law, democratic process, the right to be heard and to vote. You'll be citizens, not rulers, but you'll be free citizens. Zexthal's form grew brighter. And if we choose our own universe, then you'll be the gods of your own domain, ultimate power over your own realm. The transmission was quiet for several minutes. Jake could imagine the council debating among themselves, weighing ultimate power against uncertain freedom. Finally, Zexthal spoke. We choose to return. Perhaps in our exile, we learn something valuable. That ruling and leading are different things. That power shared is stronger than power hoarded. We have much to learn about this democracy you speak of, but we have eternity to learn it. Jake smiled. Welcome back to the galaxy, High Arbiter. I think you'll find it's a much more interesting place when everyone has a voice. As the dimensional portal began to open, Jake thought about the future. The Council's return would create new challenges. Some species would be afraid. Others would be angry. There would be problems and conflicts and difficult decisions. But for the first time since the network had chosen humanity, Jake felt hope. The galaxy was no longer divided between rulers and subjects. Everyone, even former tyrants, could choose their own path. The ancient network still needed human consciousness to function, but now it served a galaxy where every mind mattered, where former enemies could become allies, where the greatest power was not the power to destroy, but the power to create something better together. Jake looked out at the stars and smiled. The real work was just beginning, but humanity had proven something important. Sometimes the best way to win a war is to help your enemies find a better way to live. The galaxy was free, and everyone in it, including the former Galaxy Council, would help decide what that freedom meant.